Hi there, and today I'm going to go through this huge pile of vintage minifigs, all of which I've bought over the last month or so. Now, as my YouTube channel name could suggest, I absolutely love minifigures. And I catalogue my collection of minifigures on brickset.com, and that's telling me that I currently own 8,424 of them. And I used to occasionally make videos showing the minifigures that I bought as I added them to my collection. But as I hadn't made one for a very long time, and because this month had been a particularly good month for buying some vintage minifigures, I thought I'd show you the ones I've bought over the last month or so. Now, most of these are over 20 years old. Some are between 10 and 15 years, a few are up to 40 years, and one is actually 50 years old this year. Now, first up, you'll probably notice that this minifigure is actually a lot bigger than a regular minifigure, and that's because he's not a minifigure at all. He's actually a pen. If you pull his head off, there's the biro inside. But I'm going to put Minifig Jez and his giant police friend to one side for now and go through this huge pile of minifigures. But just before I do, a quick shout out to all my channel members. There's been 2 more bricks added to the wall this week, and if you're interested in getting your name on a brick in my videos, you can click on the join button below this video or the link in the description to find out how. But let's take a look at all those minifigures. And the first 3 we've got are from a fairly small theme from 2003, and that was called Gravity Games. Now, the minifigs in this theme were all snowboarders or skateboarders, and I've got a few of the skateboarders already, but I didn't have any of the snowboarders, and I've found these 3 going for sale. The ones with 1 and 2 on their vest came from the snowboard cross race set, and number 3 came from the snowboard big air competition. Now, all the snowboarders in this theme had plain torsos, but they all had these vests with stickers on. Because they had racing helmets on, they had these cool goggles which they could put on, and each one of them also had a really cool printed helmet. Now, these were obviously in the days before back printing, but because they had vests on, they also had stickers on their backs. So that's my first 3 from Gravity Games. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you'll know I'm a big fan of LEGO Classic Space, but I'm also a fan of most of the other space themes too. So first of all, here we've got 2 figures from the Space Police 3 theme. Now, I'm trying to collect all the aliens from this theme, and the first one we've got with this weird kind of double torso is called Frenzy. And as you can see, he's just got an extra part on top of his regular torso that uses these robot arms instead of regular minifig arms. And then in the middle, one of the rarer figs from this theme, and he's called Brick Daddy. And he is a really cool fig, and one I've been trying to get hold of for quite a while. And I finally found him on Bricklink in good condition at a reasonable price, so I snapped him up. Now, these guys are a little bit newer. Frenzy's from 2009 and Brick Daddy's from 2010. But next to them, we've got a space minifig from way back in 1996. And he's from the Explorians theme. Now, there were only ever 5 minifigs in this theme. I've already got 3 of them. This makes number 4, so I've only got 1 to go. Now, the Explorians minifig way before back printing was around, so he's just got a pair of black air tanks on the back, but the 2 aliens have got a little bit of printing just to add some detail. Sticking with space, we've got 2 from the Insectoids theme in 1998. First, we've got the Gigabot, and next to him is the Zotaxian alien. Now, taking their helmets off, these 2 have got incredibly detailed printing on their heads, and as well as the Zotaxian alien having this really cool transparent green helmet, Gigabot has a regular motorcycle helmet, but it's in transparent clear, which isn't found in very many minifigs. Now, I know it's just a regular motorcycle helmet, but it does look really cool in transparent. Sticking with space, we've got 4 minifigures from another space theme, Galaxy Squad. Now, all the good guys in this theme actually had names. The one in blue here was called Max Solar Flare, and the guy in red was called Billy Starbeam. And then in front of them we've got 2 of the aliens. On the left we've got a Mantazoid, and on the right we've got an alien Bugoid. Now, these guys are all 22 years old from 2013, so we were well into back printing and leg printing, and they've all got really good detailed versions of these. And I've popped the 2 aliens heads off so you can see the detailed back printing here, and although the 2 heads look pretty similar, they're both made out of completely different materials. This one is actually regular LEGO ABS plastic, but this one is one of those more rubberized pieces. We've got a couple more obscure space themes coming up, but for now we're going to jump back 10 years to the early 2000s, and I've just bought 4 of the very first Harry Potter figures. And when I say 4, I couldn't count, and I actually mean 5. Now, these are all from the very first few years of Harry Potter, when LEGO was still making film characters with yellow skin tones. So first of all, on the left we've got Ginny Weasley. Now, she's from 2002, and she's still got a very good condition cape, and it's one of the ones with the stars on the inside. Next to her we got Tom Riddle, whose cape is also still in really good condition with no fraying around the edges, but he just has a regular black one without stars. So those 2 were from 2002, but from 2004 we've got Severus Snape. Now, this is where he's being portrayed by a boggart, and a really cool feature about him is that he's actually got a glow-in-the-dark head, as you can see here. Then jumping back to the very first year of Harry Potter in 2001, we've got Peeves on the far right, and also Hagrid. And this is the only Hagrid that LEGO made with a yellow skin tone. And as you can see, under his rubber hairpiece, he's got a regular minifig head. And a few years later, they used the same body and just swapped it for a skin tone version head. Now, when Harry Potter LEGO came out, I hadn't read the books, I hadn't seen any of the films, so I didn't know what any of it was about. So I tended to just buy a few of the smaller sets which had prominent minifigs in them. And I didn't buy any of the larger sets because I had no particular interest. So I'm now trying to go back and fill in the gaps of my collection from those early years. Next is a minifigure actually in a small set. And he's from the very first year of posable minifigures in 1978. Now the set I bought was this, set 621, and the placement that came in this set is actually a regular printed torso minifigure with buttons and a badge. Now I didn't particularly want this set, but I noticed on eBay where I got it from that that wasn't the minifigure that the seller was selling with it. He had a much more interesting minifigure in the set with this stickered torso. And for 47 years old, this guy is looking pretty good. His sticker, although it's not perfectly central, at least it's been put on straight, and after 47 years there's not too much fraying around the edges. Now one of my goals in my collection is to collect all the minifigures from 1978 which had stickers on their torsos. So I'm really pleased to get hold of him, even though he came in the wrong set, and it's one more that I can tick off my list. Next we've got 3 45-year-old minifigures from 1980. Firstly, a fairly plain minifigure, but one with a torso print which wasn't on many minifigures. And I do like to collect those 70s and 80s minifigures, and this is a torso print which I didn't already have. I absolutely loved that hairpiece as a kid. It was the only male hair we ever had, and although he's got that little mark on the red triangle at the front, I'm really pleased to get hold of him. And the other 2 1980s minifigures are still in this box that they came in, because they came with a few extra pieces as well. And it's got a big cargo sticker on it because this came from America, because they came in a set which was never for sale in Europe. And that was the Exxon gas station set. Now the listing had these stickered parts as well, and the stickers are in fairly bad shape considering they're from 1980. And also this 2x3 slope with another very peeling sticker. But it wasn't the stickered pieces I was after, it was these really 2 amazing minifigs. Now LEGO only ever made 3 Exxon sets, and they only had 4 minifigures. One of those was really early on and also had a stickered torso, and it's one I'd really like to get hold of in my collection, but I've never seen one for sale. But these 2 were both in the gas station. They're completely identical apart from their headgear, and as with the last minifigure, which had the only male hair from that era, one of these minifigures has got the only female hair we had. Now you can see her torso is absolutely immaculate, whereas his torso's got a slight scratch under the E of Exxon. Now the minifigure with the sticker on the torso was exactly like the guy on the right, who had a red torso and a red cap, but his torso logo was obviously a sticker. And then the 4th Exxon minifigure that LEGO ever made was exactly the same as the guy on the right, only had black legs and a black cap. Now these 2 guys weren't very expensive, but they did work out a little bit more as I had to pay for the postage all the way over from America. But even though I've never seen them for sale in the UK, so I'm really pleased to get hold of them. Now we've got that 50-year-old minifigure just about to come up soon, but before that we're jumping forward to 2011 and the Alien Conquest theme. Now Alien Conquest had a total of 16 minifigures, and with these 2 added to my collection I've now got 14 out of the 16. Now on the left we've got an Alien Defense Unit soldier, and in the theme LEGO made quite a few of these in blue just with different face prints. And the 2 that I'm missing from this theme are exactly the same as this one, only with different faces. But the absolute best minifigure from the entire theme was the Alien Commander that we have here on the right. Now this was an absolutely amazing figure to get back in 2011. First of all, we've got this brilliant dual moulded head with a transparent green brain on top. There's great detail printing on his torso with those gold epaulets on his shoulders. He's got one of those original starched capes in red, and although it's a little bit creased, it's not frayed at all at the edges. And then down below we've got one of these rubberized body pieces with tentacles sticking out in all directions. Now there are other similar looking aliens in the Alien Conquest theme, but this is the only one with that amazing body piece, and I'm really pleased to get hold of him. Then next from 2014, 3 minifigures from a theme which I had no idea there were quite so many figures in. And that's the Legends of Chima, which actually had a total of 159 different minifigs. Now adding these 3 to my collection takes me up to a total of 39 out of the 159, so I've still got another 120 to go. Now this theme was just full of absolutely amazing head moulds, and if I turn them all sideways you can see the brilliant shapes that they've all got. And even under their head moulds, their minifig heads had amazingly detailed printing too, although most of it got covered up by the heads. All the minifigs in this theme also had names, and going from left to right we have Spiratus, Straynor and Crawley. And my favourite in this batch is definitely Straynor, as I'm an absolute sucker for any transparent minifig pieces, and he's got a transparent blue leg. But jumping back from 2013 to 1996, and we've got Aquazone. Now Aquazone had two different factions. Firstly, the Aquanauts, which LEGO made 5 minifigs for, and these are 3 of them. They all wore these really cool moulded helmets, and had either black or transparent blue visors on them, but underneath all the torsos were the same, and the only difference was really the face printing. Now these are the first Aquanauts that I've ever bought, so I've got 3 out of the 5 with just 2 to go. Now next to the Aquanauts in the Aquazone theme, the other faction were the Aqua Sharks, but LEGO only made 3 of these. Again, these are the first 2 Aqua Sharks I've ever bought, so I've still got 1 to get. They also had large moulded combined helmets and air tanks with these red visors on the top. But again, underneath the torso printing was identical, and the difference was only their face printing. And of course, this guy having this amazing transparent green hook instead of a hand. And what looks like just a pattern from a distance, up close you can see they've actually got a shark on their torsos. So 2 Aqua Sharks and 3 Aquanauts from the Aquazone theme. Next, 2 absolutely classic figures from an absolutely classic theme, and that was the Forestmen. Now Forestmen were out between 1987 and 1990, although they did have a bit of a comeback in the 2000s, and we've had some more modern versions since. But of the original theme, there were only 21 Forestmen figures, and with these 2 added to my collection, I've now got 9 of those. So I'm not quite halfway there with this theme, but they are coming more and more difficult to get in good condition at a reasonable price. These both have the same tunic design, one in red and one in blue, and of course they've both got 2 different feathers in their hats. Now neither of these 2 are particularly rare, however some of the minifigures with this smaller feather on the right hand side are becoming very difficult to get hold of. There are 2 minifigures in the theme with that smaller feather in black, and because that feather only came in black in those 2 minifigs, it's a particularly difficult piece to get, especially as they are so tiny. I imagine an awful lot of them got lost in the thick pile carpet of the era, and I imagine a lot of them ended their days in vacuum cleaner bags in the 80s. So of the 12 that I've still got to get, those 2 minifigures with the black feather in the hat are 2 that I really want to get my hands on. There was also one Forest Woman in the Forestmen theme. Now I've got the remake of her from the 2000s, but again I'd really like to add the 80s version to my collection. Then with just 2 more sets of minifigs to show you, we've got 3 generic town figures. Firstly, we've got a pilot from 1986. Next, from 2000, we've got an explorer from the town's Arctic sub-theme. Now there's 9 of these Arctic explorers, and this is the 3rd one I've managed to get. And if you remove his Arctic hat, you get a much better view of that really cool Arctic logo on his torso. And then over on the right, from 2006, we've got a football supporter from the Grand Soccer Stadium. And his torso printing is actually a sticker. Most of the minifigs in the soccer theme had stickers on their torsos, with the players having team logos on the front and numbers on their back. Now this sticker isn't quite in the middle and it isn't quite straight, but it's still in very good condition. And so we move on to our last 3 minifigs. First of all, we've got one of the rock monsters from the Power Miners theme. Now that theme had 31 minifigures in it, but a lot of them are fairly generic miners. However, I do want to get my hands on one of each of the different coloured rock monsters, and this is obviously the green one. In the middle, we've got a Martian from the Life on Mars theme. Now there are 13 different Martians in the Life on Mars theme, and this is only my 2nd one. But he's unique in that all the other Martians actually had names, whereas this guy was just called Martian. And then far over there on the right, looking very old and battered, from 50 years ago in 1975, we've got one of the old style minifigs. And this is back from when legs were solid, arms were moulded onto the side of the torso, and they had no printing on their faces. But a few of them had stickers, and this is one of those from the 1975 hospital, and he had a teeny tiny red cross on his torso. So let me know in the comments below, what was your favourite theme and what was your favourite minifigure from this haul? And also let me know if you'd like to see more of my minifig collection, and also the occasional video on all the minifigs I buy month by month. If you've liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel out. If you'd like to become a channel member and get your name on a brick in my videos, click on the link in the description below and you can find out how. But most of all, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe for more LEGO videos.